everyone. Welcome to Moment of Clarity. This story is awesome. This is amazing. Joe Biden, in his speech, has said that, you know what, he's just so compassionate. He's just so caring. He understands. He gets us. Joe Biden has said that poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids. Aw, Uncle Joe, thank you. No, I literally said poor kids are as bright and talented as white kids. What does that imply? Perhaps that all poor people are black. Well done, Joe. Well done. God, does he understand this country. He just gets us. He gets us all. Here's the exact quote. We have, and I'll get to the deeper meaning of this. As I've said many times, I don't like to just do little minutia about the soap opera of politics because, this story will be forgotten in a week. But I'm going to get to the deeper meaning of this, why this matters in a second. But here's the exact quote. We have this notion, Joe Biden, we have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. That's the exact quote. And this shows so many things, okay? Besides the fact that Joe Biden is, starting to lose it, becoming a little senile. And here's the thing is, I don't want to make fun of people that's senile. If your grandpa's senile, do you walk around going, look at you, fuck you, grandpa? No, you feel bad for him. But the problem is your grandpa's not running for president of the United States. So maybe we need to, as we feel bad for him, also kind of push him off stage left. Don't, just like you wouldn't want your senile grandpa running a factory machine. If he were in charge of the machines at the factory and dude's arms are getting lopped off, you'd be like, hey, grandpa, let's just sit down and watch your stories. Watch the TV with the stories you like. So we should do the same with Joe Biden. I'm not saying make fun of him, just push him out of view. But so his quote here also shows, it's funny how when you start to go a little senile, you often relay a lot of reality that a politician normally wouldn't speak publicly because these things aren't allowed to be said publicly. You can't say that. Are you fucking out of your mind? No. But when you go a little senile, these things start coming out. This is the reason this comment is important, is it shows the deeper systemic racism. It shows the racism of our white Congress people, especially the older ones who came up. Joe Biden came up and proudly talks about how he was friends with segregationists. He was friends with people who thought there should be a separate white and black America. These were his buddies. Strom Thurmond, one of the most racist senators we've had since slavery, Joe Biden was proudly his friend and talks about co-sponsoring bills with him. That's the Joe Biden you're talking about. And this quote shows the systemic racism that's lying just beneath, right? Now, so it shows that. It also shows that, the reason Joe Biden has gotten these things mixed up in his head, the idea that white people are wealthy and black people are not, is because if you look at the numbers, another reason beyond just his subtle racism. But if you look at the numbers, black people, the average, the median household wealth is around zero. It's very small. It's very tiny. Whereas the median wealth of white families is higher. And this has to do, again, with systemic racism. It has to do with the system that, guess what, is not a meritocracy, okay? People like to think, the great myths of America is that we are a meritocracy. We fucking are not. We're whatever the opposite of that is. People with established families, with money, can push their kids to the top, can get them in the best schools, we've gone crazy about this, was it the Harvard or Columbia and Harvard recruiting scandal where they were, paying people to get past the tests and everything, right? That's been a massive story. But the truth is, That's the norm. Yeah, this one, the reason that became a story and a fraud charges and all this shit is because it was paying to cheat on the tests. But paying to get allowed into college, like there are buildings at Harvard and Columbia of families that have fucking forced their kids into those colleges. That is not new. That is the norm. I mean, that's what's so hilarious is families have been paying to get into the elite schools for fucking ever. So that is just a more obvious, paying a coach to say like, oh, he's going to be a tennis player, so bring him on the tennis team, and then it turns out the guy doesn't play tennis, he's just with a rich family. That's a little more obvious than not really more obvious than buying a fucking stadium at Harvard. Of course, why the fuck do you think George W. Bush got into Yale, okay? Anytime you think we have a meritocracy, remember George W. Bush was at Yale. Okay, we do not have a meritocracy. We have a system, really a class system that has been set up to try and minimize the number of people from the lower classes that can get up to those higher levels of wealth and success. And it's achieved tremendous success on that level. It's done great. It's really stopped people from being able to get themselves out of poverty. And of course, I could go on and on for an hour about how this system really solidifies itself. Everything, from the education system, $23 billion gap between minority schools and mostly white schools. I could talk about the fact that, guess what, we fill neighborhoods that have more black people with cops, and then the cops walk around and give tiny charges to everybody, thereby getting them in the system, thereby next time anyone's arrested for something, they are already in the system. They already have charges against them. What do you know? You're a repeat offender. There's many ways that this system is reinforced, but just goes to show we do not have a meritocracy. And Joe Biden doesn't realize that. Joe Biden, is part of making sure this system maintains. Here's one other point I wanted to make about this. Because he said poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids. The other thing is, some people are not bright, right? Some people are born kind of dumb. It just happens. It's maybe the mother was sniffing whiteout when she was pregnant. There are things that happen that make kids dumb. It's a combination of nature and nurture, and sometimes people are born just not as bright. They may be good at other things. Maybe they can fucking throw a baseball like a maniac. Who knows? So a kid could be good at other things and just not be very bright. They could be not bright in the way our system grades brightness, grades intelligence. So, they maybe they're very talented and bright in other ways, but they're not able to pass a math exam that we put all this weight on, even though you don't have to use math anymore. Sorry to break that news. Yeah, nobody uses math anymore unless you're an accountant or something. Even then, I think there's programs. Yeah, accountants, they don't even use math anymore. But my point is that some people are either born or nature or early nurture or whatever it is. They're not bright. There are not bright people in our world. Is that an outlandish statement? There are not bright people? And here's my point. Do we want them to suffer? Do we want, oh, you're not very bright. I hope you're fucking poor. I hope you are just pressed down by our society. I hope that the fact that you are a little bit dumber than the rest of us, I hope that weighs on you like 1,000 pounds on your shoulders and you just really can't get out of poverty your whole life. I hope that's what happens. Because that seems fair. Am I making sense here? Because you're looking at me like I'm not making sense. I think I'm making sense here. Just because someone's not bright doesn't mean they should be exploited or fucking live a miserable life or be stuck in a job they hate. We should want not bright people to also have happy lives and feel fulfilled and do what they want to do with their lives. So this idea, this is another form of discrimination. It's discrimination against not bright people. Like Joe Biden saying, don't worry, poor kids, and we'll ignore the racist part of it. That we'll ignore that for a second. He meant to. I think he meant to say, poor kids are also bright. Well, what if there's a poor kid who's not bright? What if that exists? Because I think there might be a couple. Should they be fucking traumatized? Should they be beaten down? Should we say they are the losers of our society? Go fucking live in a cave somewhere? No, we should have a society that allows for the success and happiness, right to happiness, right? We should have a society that allows for all of that, for all people. Whether you're fucking not bright or creative or not creative. I mean, yes, we should try and foster that stuff. I'm not saying we shouldn't educate people and hope to make them brighter. But if they don't end up there, should we want them punished? We should want them to lose out in our system. So even the idea of a meritocracy, even if we did have a meritocracy where the smartest, most creative person always rises to the top, does that mean that people down here should just be beaten down? I don't think so. Anyway, my view. Thanks for tuning in to Moment of Clarity, and I have live shows coming up in Los Angeles and Ventura, California, as well as Milwaukee, Madison, Wisconsin, Washington, D.C. We tape here live in Washington, D.C., so come hang out with me, and that's all at leecamp.com. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, Redacted Tonight, go subscribe to YouTube/LeeCamp2, LeeCamp and the number 2, because that's where you can get these videos a day or two earlier, because they go up there first. So, all right. Thank you. Click subscribe, and then also you got to click the bell icon because fuck YouTube. You got to click the bell thing so they tell you where it is. It's right. No, it's right. Right. No. Oh, wait. There. Yeah. Click the bell icon, and keep fighting.